Welcome back and thank you so much for joining me in today's video because homebuilder sentiment on a national level has decreased to the lowest levels since December of 2022. This also marks the fourth consecutive month in which builder confidence for constructing new single-family houses has also decreased. This is based on a brand new report from the National Association of Realtors. And of course, in today's video, I'll share all the details, but also have some more news to share regarding the new home construction industry as well. Let's first talk about this as well. So builder sentiment, this was posted on November 16th, which is a Thursday. So builder confidence in the market for building new single family houses, according to them, fell 6 points to 34. That marked the fourth consecutive monthly drop in their sentiment here. So something to keep in mind here is that when the sentiment is below 50, this means builders are actually pessimistic regarding our US housing market. Any measure above 50 means that builders are confident. So at 34, builders are very much pessimistic right now. And here's a chart showing just that the index right now at 34 for October, the lowest reading since December of 2022. On top of that, I did some digging for you guys, of course. And of course, I found an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, it can't be a better day, right? I'm such a nerd. Anyways, I love looking at data and sharing it with you guys because you're not going to get this anywhere else because no one digs like I do, right? In any case, for November, this is for the month of November, a survey for this month, not in October. I misspoke. Anyways, for November, the reading is at 34, excluding November last year and December last year, as well as April of 2020, when we had more or less COVID lockdowns nationwide. A reading of 34 is the lowest reading going back to June of 2012. In other words, the fourth lowest reading since June of 2012. On top of that, when looking at their index back in November of 2019, obviously pre-COVID levels, their index was 71. So this means that builder confidence is about half as confident right now compared to then. Now, here's something I found to be really interesting as well, because here's a look, and this, by the way, is on the Mortgage News Daily's website here, looking at your average 30-year fixed rate versus builder confidence. So back in 2021 and in early 2022, of course, we had low rates and high builder confidence. But when rates started surging in, early 2022 through October, that really caused builder confidence to absolutely plummet. So rates increase, confidence decrease. We did see a slight increase in builder confidence in the first few months of 2023, but that was really due to the fact we had, very close to all-time record lows for existing houses for sale. And because we had such a low level of houses for sale, a lot of people are moving to buying a brand new house because all these builders were offering all these incentives, such as rate buy downs. So when rates were at 6%, a builder could offer a rate at 4.5%, for example, or 5%. But when rates increased to about 8%, these incentives that home builders were just throwing at home buyers were not working as compared to earlier this year of 2023. So that is, I just kind of found it interesting that, of course, builder confidence for building new single-family houses decreases when rates increase, right? Now, here's the true impacts regarding builder confidence and how that impacts housing supply. So here's a look at builder confidence. Again, this is the blue line right here, going back to 2012, by the way. The red dotted line there is new single-family housing starts, seasonally adjusted and analyzed according to the U.S. Census Bureau. So when builder confidence increases, so does housing starts. And of course, the housing start is the beginning phase of the construction of a brand new house. So as you guys can see here, in 2013 through 2018, builder confidence as well as housing starts also increase as well for single family. Compare this to what's been happening since late 2022 builder confidence decreasing, and of course, housing starts in general also decreasing as well. So big picture here, a decrease in builder sentiment could cause a decrease of single family housing starts later. And of course, this could limit housing inventory in the months ahead. So you may be asking yourself, what are the components of this monthly survey from the National Association of Home Builders? It says here there are 3 major indices for their HMI. And of course, all 3 of these decrease in November. So they look at current sales conditions, sales expectations in the next 6 months, and also traffic from prospective home buyers. Each of those fell for the month of November. Also, I did some digging for you guys based on this really nerdy Excel spreadsheet here. Current sales conditions right now fell 6 points to 40. That's the lowest reading since January this year, tied at 40. Also, sales expectations in the next 6 months dropped 5 points to 39. That also is the lowest reading since January this year. In regards to traffic of prospective home buyers, that also decreased 5 points. Now it's at 21. The last time it was this low was back in December of 2022. So builders overall are responding here to the survey here, saying we have a decrease of current sales conditions. We're also seeing a decrease of sales expectations in the next 6 months, and also a decrease of buyer traffic as well. Now, something that's really important that I should mention in today's video here is this survey here was based on data for November. However, though, it was collected for the most part before the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI report that was announced on, I think it was on Wednesday. That showed that inflation, of course, was moderating. And more or less ever since then, mortgage rates have been decreasing, going from about 7.7 approximately. Now it's at 7.4%. So the response of the survey here came in at when rates were very close to 8%. So of course, the big question is, will builder confidence increase, and also will home buying demand also increase, given the fact that rates have fallen by about 60 basis points compared to about 3 weeks ago? And of course, time will tell, and I'll definitely keep you posted. Also, according to the survey here, the rise of interest rates since the end of August has dampened builder views of market conditions, as a large number of prospective buyers were priced out of the housing market. Moreover, high short-term interest rates have increased the cost of financing of home builders and land developers, adding another headwind for housing supply in a market where, of course, we have a low amount of existing houses for sale. So the rising of interest rates, of course, impacts home buying demand, but also increases further developments of new houses that builders are also building as well. They also talk about how we have rates above 7% ever since mid-August of this year. It says in November, 36% of home builders reported cutting home prices from 32% in the previous 2 months. That's also tied with the previous high point that was set back in November of 2022. So builders are still offering these incentives in order to drive home sales. And one of those incentives, of course, is decreasing home prices. Meanwhile, approximately 60% of builders provided sales incentives of all forms this month, down slightly from 62% in the previous month. And speaking of rising rates, housing affordability, according to a new report from the National Association of Home Builders, not a sponsored video by them, but I found a lot of good reports regarding new home construction in today's video here. Anyways, it says rising rates and, of course, elevated prices is making housing affordability drop to all-time record lows. The lowest reading since they started tracking this back in 2012. As you can see right here, housing affordability started decreasing greatly in Q2 of 2021. And of course, especially in the late half of 2022 and early parts of 2023 due to rising prices and rates. Now on the supply side though, have a look at this. It says builders and lenders agree credit is tightening, meaning it's getting more challenging to have or to get land acquisition, development, and construction loans from home builders. This is according to both their survey and the Federal Reserve's survey of senior loan officers. In the third quarter this year, both the NAHB and the Fed indices were negative, indicating that builders and lenders were once again in agreement that credit was on a net level tightening. In other words, more challenging to get loans for acquisition, development, and construction. So not only are these availability of these construction loans getting more tight, but also interest rates are also skyrocketing as well. These rates are absolutely insane here. So look at land acquisition. These are the rates or the effective rates that home builders are paying in order to acquire land. That's the blue line right here. So for Q3 2023, the effective rate overall is at 11%. The lowest was set back in more or less Q1 2021 when the rate was approximately 6%. So rates have more or less doubled ever since then. For land development, same scenario. The 11% rate right now, the lowest was around 7%. Land or single family construction, speculative. This is a construction loan in which the builder plans to sell the house, but it's not sold yet. That's the green line right now, or at least for Q3 this year, approaching 14% right now. The lowest was set back in 2021 at just over 7%. So rates have more or less doubled since then. In regards to single family construction that's pre-sold, that is actually a little bit higher at around 14.5% compared to the lows of around 7.5%. Something else that I noticed that you guys may have noticed as well is that all these rates right now are well above the rates we saw during pre-COVID levels in 2018 and 2019, when the rate hovered around 8% to around 10%. And now those same rates are in the range of 11% to nearly 15% right now. So the true impacts regarding our housing market, home builders, home buyers, is that when these rates increase greatly, of course, that de-incentivizes home builders to start construction of brand new houses. And of course, when that happens, that will limit housing inventory of brand new home construction in the months and years ahead. And lastly, here's a report I want to share with you guys as well regarding the prices of building materials here. It says, according to the latest Producer Price Index report, or the PPI, announced on, I think it was on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, the price level of inputs to residential construction or building materials decreased by 0.1% in October, following a 0.2% increase in September. So prices overall were increasing in September. Now they're down slightly, down by 0.1%. The index has now increased by only 1% year to date. That's January through October this year, marking the smallest year to date gain through October, of course, since it fell by 0.1% over the first 10 months of 2019. Now, something that caught my attention regarding this is that during pre-pandemic levels, overall building material prices were at very low levels, especially compared to right now. So during 2020 through 2022, I'd say early 2022, prices overall surged big time. Index went from around 112 to 148. So even though we're not seeing those same price increases overall ever since really January 2022, prices have been relatively flat. So just taking a step back here, it's nice to see that prices are not skyrocketing like they did during 2021 and 2022, yet we're not seeing the same increases, but we're still maintaining at relatively high levels compared to at least 2019 and early 2020. The National Association of Home Builders also looked at various components of residential building materials as well. So looking at gypsum building materials, that has been more or less on a downward trend here. So the last time prices increased was way back in March of 2023. Ever since then, they have decreased by 3.5% in the 7 months since then. Prices are now 1.4% lower than they were in October of 2022. But again, I'll mention this again here. We saw a huge increase in prices of drywall here in 2021 through mid-2022. But ever since then, more or less flat, but maintaining at relatively high levels, especially compared to 2019. Also, year-to-date through October, the index for gypsum building materials has decreased by 1.6%. In contrast, it surged by 10.9% and 17.9% over the first 10 months of 2022 and 2021. The year-to-date October increase has averaged a gain of 2.8% since 1995. So this year-to-date, we're down 1.6%, but overall, the historical average is a gain of 2.8%. But again, I wouldn't say this a reason for celebration, given the fact that we're still at very high levels right now. Now, when looking at steel mill products here, it's actually a little bit different story here. So that actually decreased by 2.5% in October. So steel has decreased in each of the past 5 months for a total of 12.5%, reaching its lowest levels since March of 2021. So we saw a sharp increase during that same time frame, but ever since then, a fairly sharp decrease. So we're still above levels in 2019 and the early parts of 2020, but much lower compared to the peak set back in October-ish of 2021. It's also quite a bit different story here for softwood lumber, because lumber has been declining big time ever since really the spring months of 2022. So the PPI for softwood lumber decreased by 2.8% in October, following a 1.3% increase in September. The index has fallen 12.1% over the past year and is 52.3% lower than the all-time record highs that was set back in 2021. In regards to ready-mix concrete, that increased by 0.8% in October. This is a look at year-over-year changes of ready-mix concrete prices here, surging during this time frame right here, but it was going down, but more recently started increasing once again. So right now, the year-over-year change is a gain of around 11.5%. So with that said, please comment below your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you guys got any value out of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. And of course, I appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.